in the past, change was something scary. Now I see change as as a synonym to opportunity, to possibility. If you want to create something in your life and you do something about it every single day, even if very small, but every single day doing something toward your goal will take you there. Anything that brings me joy is welcome to my life, and anything that takes away joy is not.
You just heard a taste of what's to come from my conversation with Ipek Williamson. For 20 years, she was the perfect executive assistant, never missed a detail, never let anyone down. Then, without warning, she was told she was redundant. That corporate ego death could have broken her, but instead, it sparked the most profound transformation of her life. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Unfiltered Solopreneur. I'm your host, Nikhil Vaish, founder and CEO of Boost Solo. My next guest is a former corporate right hand who experienced an ego death after losing her 20-year career, only to rediscover a fearless new path as a meditation teacher and transformation coach who's bringing the world closer to calm, one beautiful soul at a time. Ipek, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Nikhil. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, it's a pleasure, and I'm really excited for our conversation. So now I sort of mentioned that in the opening. You told me you called it an ego death right after losing your corporate job, a role that you said had been your identity for 20 years. Could you tell us a little bit about how that profound loss ultimately opened the door to what clearly is your true calling?
Well, Nikhil, it has been a really interesting experience because I was born in Turkey. To go back, give a background. I was born in Istanbul and lived there most of my life, and got married, worked as an executive assistant for over 10 years there before we moved as a family to Canada, Ontario. And I continued my career here in Ontario for another 11 years. And I was an excellent executive assistant. I was so perfectionist. Everything is everything needs to be on time. I never failed my employers. Therefore, I was so attached to my title, I believe. Then one day I received an offer from another company while working for one, which was a much better opportunity for me, with everything, all the benefits and everything. Like, it was so too good to miss. So even though I was okay at my job, I switched. And the reason why they were hiring someone was because the executive assistant was gonna retire, and they wanted to replace me, her with me. So I started, and then 2.5 months later, I believe she decided to stay, and they said, you are now redundant, unfortunately, because she's not retiring. So I had to they had to let me go. That was so it made me so depressed, because my job was everything. My career was everything to me, and I never failed at anything so far in 20 years. And I saw that as the ultimate failure, like being let go, even though it wasn't really my fault. The circumstances changed, but it made me really realize that I feel like I'm zero, I'm nothing. So that pushed me to think about all these things, like contemplate about, so does it mean I am just my work, just my job? So that was also like that felt like my ego death. when my job was taken away from me, I felt like I am down to zero,
Right.
which in time, fortunately, I have been a meditator since 2017. I meditated most every day. And around that time, this happened in 2018, and I continued to meditate. And through meditation, spirituality, speaking to myself, literally my inner voice, I realized that this might be an opportunity for me. This might be a new possibility, because I realized that I'm not even able to go to interviews. I'm not able to go back to the same career. It it was obvious that it was done for me.
Right.
So I was thinking and asking, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And meditating. One day I was meditating in the backyard, and I was asking, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I literally heard a voice in my head. It said, be patient. Be patient. I was so, so shocked. And then I thought, well, there's something there. I need to wait, apparently. And then things like fall into place in a way that everything was so clear right in front of me, that coaching was my next phase of life, next thing to give back to the world.
Yeah.
I found that that was my calling. And 6 years later, like last 6 years were the best years, best days of my life,
Yeah.
I must say.
And I told you this before, the joy comes through in terms of what you're doing now. But it's so funny though, because you're right though, because generationally, and I think maybe, millennials were the first generation to not experience that, but anyone before that, your corporate identity was your identity, right? Because your title was what you sort of earned. The loyalty that you put into the company was sort of the equity you walked out with, right? For being a great employee and, like you said, doing a job really well. And then to face a layoff, it is horrible. But, and it's also like, as you were talking, I also think of it like shedding skin, right? It's really hard the first time you do it when you make that solopreneur leap. And I even remember there were so many people who were like, who wanted to know me when I had my corporate title, and then wanted to have nothing to do with me once I no longer had that corporate title. So it kind of also tells you who your real friends are in that sense. But no, I love how you sort of found listen to your inner voice quite literally, right, and found
Mm.
that path.
Absolutely. And you're so right. Some people, unfortunately, uh, see your title before your name or who you are,
Yeah.
and treat you according to your title. And I've never been that kind of person, but I feel like if someone is thinking and seeing life from that perspective, they are not aligned with me in the first place.
Yeah.
So I don't really mind what they think, or do they stay in my world, or do they choose to leave? It's up to them. Uh, but you're right. Like it's not easy to go for your entrepreneurship, your own business. But I learned so much, and I realized that even though I was proud and I did a great job as an executive assistant, it wasn't a line of business that was giving me joy in life. So now when I look back, I see that as the best thing that happened to me, because without that experience, I wouldn't be here today speaking with you. I wouldn't have created hundreds of meditations. I wouldn't have worked with hundreds of clients, spoke at events, so and wrote a children's book. I created a mandala drawing, I coloring book. I wrote chapters onto books to other books. So lots of things that I created wouldn't be possible. So
Yeah.
I'm quite proud of myself.
Yeah, and literally the way you just described it, yeah, I could say the one familiar door closed and a world of possibilities opened up, right? And it's amazing how many people have told me very similar stories. That was the impetus for happiness, right? Getting on a path to doing things that gave them something back, right? Versus just a paycheck. Um, the, Sorry, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Well, I was going to say, I realized I learned that. And now when you look at my name on LinkedIn, next to it, it says change means possibility. Uh, in the past, change was something scary for me. And when I lost my job, I went through the most scariest days of my life. But now I see change as as a synonym to opportunity, to possibility. And whenever a change happens, I always feel like this happened for me, not to me. For me,
Right.
to take me to the next step, to take me to the next phase of my life. Um, because we are coming to this world with a purpose. And universe, God, whatever we believe in, uh, brings us experiences to keep us on that path. So, therefore, nothing is bad, and everything is to take us to the next step, next level in our state of being, in a way.
Yeah. And so much of that is perspective too that you learn, right? Because there are people who take it exactly the other way and sort of close themselves off, I think, to what might be possible, right? Because they feel so wounded. But and, and I think you have to process it. There's nothing wrong with that. But at some point you have to realize that this is, there is another path out there, and there's a fork in the road, right? That's all it is. It's not the end of the road. Um, so the other thing you mentioned to me, which I loved, was that you made a promise to yourself on your 50th birthday that joy would be your North Star, right? So what inspired that decision, and how has it approached, how has it changed your approach to work and your life?
Nikhil, I realized that throughout my career in a corporate world, joy was not an important part of my life, especially at work. But I realized also that joy is so much more important than we think it is. And because I left this career, I had an opportunity to go my way on my terms. And so I decided that it is time for me to put what matters most to in front of me and stick with that. And joy was something that was missing. So I wanted to focus on that and create more of joy in my life, and also be mindful of what is taking away, sucking away joy from my life. So I wanted to remove those things while bringing in other things that give me joy. And that was my promise while I was blowing the candles on the cake, my birthday cake. I didn't make a wish, but I made a promise that from this moment on, anything that brings me joy is welcome to my life, and anything that takes away joy is not. And I'm gonna live having joy as my North Star, as you said. And I kept that promise.
Yeah, no, I love that. In fact, I was reading yesterday, I forget who it was, but he talked about how as a solopreneur especially you have to be selfish. And when he says selfish, he doesn't mean like, at the expense of everyone and everything else, but what he was basically saying is the way you just described it, that if it doesn't work for you, if it makes you unhappy, if you're working with a toxic client, you've got to start saying no, because that is the reason you left. That's one of the reasons we're on this path, is so we have, we can do things that bring us fulfillment and joy. And obviously you still have a bottom line. You have to make money. You have to connect those dots, but you don't have to just do everything for the sake of doing it, right? Because of some corporate master. So no, I love that promise you made to yourself, and I can see you're still living it.
Yeah, and there is one thing that I wanted to say. That's the luxury of being your own boss, right?
Yes.
It's so hard to go back to work for someone when you are really used to be your own boss, decide on who to work with, at what time to work with. Yes, sometimes I work maybe 7 days a week, but I have the luxury to arrange my times per day, or which hours, or some days I choose to work on my projects, whereas the other days I have all my clients on 1 or 2 days, so that I uh, do my work with them. The rest of the time I can work on other projects. And also I learned to respect myself more, uh, changing from the people pleaser
Yeah.
toward toward self-respect and self-appreciation, because I used to say yes to everything. And when I would say yes, that would be to death. Like when I'm in, I'm in. When I'm out, I'm out. Nowadays, it's not like that. I join in something and check it out. I have the right to experience something and then decide, is this really for me? Or it's, well, I thought it would be aligned with who I am or what I expect, but it turns out it is not. So it's okay to leave and try something else, because I see life as a school.
Yeah.
We keep learning new things. Some stick with us, some don't, and that's okay.
Yeah, no, very true. And I love that. I love the way you sort of think about that. And the other thing I agree with you is, which I sort of came to my head, was like, and I'll admit, even my self worth was attached to my job for a long time, right? And the hardest thing, and I think, in a sense, at that, you're sort of taught to get external validation for your self worth, right? But as a solopreneur, the most beautiful thing that has happened is I don't look for that validation externally anymore, right? It comes from inside, and it comes from helping my clients and delivering that. It's sort of an internal compass rather than an external thing. So yeah, no, I totally align with that. So go ahead.
I was going to say, that reminded me, what you said reminded me of Byron Katie. Byron Katie says, what other people think or say about you is none of your business. It's their business.
Right.
And I really love that. And I barely worry about what other people will think or say, as long as, because I have my values, right? As
Yeah.
long as I follow my core values and I do everything well aligned with those values, I know that I am doing things in a right way. So whenever someone else might think something about what I'm doing or what I'm saying, who am I being, um, it doesn't bother me, because I know that I am doing the right things, saying the right things.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and it's sticking to your internal compass, right? And aligning with your values, because then whatever, however someone takes something is how they took it, right? It's not how you intended it. So, and you have no control over that. And as long as you're not trying to hurt people or harm people, that you're okay. So I'm going to pause there for a second and go check the recording now, just to make sure we're okay. And I'll be right back. We'll have to stop and start again. So, in our pre-call, you mentioned something very interesting to me. Another interesting thing, I should say, is that meditation literally erased the notion of fear from your system. I think were the words that you used. So, I want to know how that the fearlessness, rather, I should say, has translated into your approach as a solo business owner, as a solopreneur.
It's so interesting. I had so many worries and so many fears in my previous life. Uh, and I believe it happened because of meditation, because that was the most important change I made in my life. And I have been meditating every day, every day, every day. And even though I lost my job, and even though it made me quite depressed, um, because I continued to meditate without any giving any break, I believe that, and I learned from my training about meditation that it is literally changing our brain chemistry uh, and creating a coherence between our heart and our brain, and makes us better people, makes us good people, makes us more open to new things and ideas. So I believe that literally erased fear, because I realized that I have the power to manifest, to create, to guide, to decide my path. And I realized that if and when I do something that gives me joy, um, the other things that I need will come. And that's the uh, beauty of entrepreneurship, in my opinion. Because when you are an entrepreneur, you are choosing what you want to do and what you are good at. And I realized, I learned from Ikigai concept, Nikhil, that um, the idea is finding what is your Ikigai. And an Ikigai is the intersection of four things that happen at the same time. Uh, Something that you love doing,
Yeah,
that you are also good at doing, that the world needs, and then you can
make
make a
money.
living out of
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And I fortunately found that at 50. And now I'm going to turn 56, and I'm living the best years of my life, because I am doing my ikigai. I'm creating my life doing things that give me joy, and whatever I need as a side benefits of the things that give me joy come to me. Therefore, I never worry whenever, for example, sometimes I have many clients, sometimes I have one or two clients, but I never worry, because I know that what I need will come to me. And that's exactly what happens. Most human beings think that I need to do something, and in return, I need to get something. But universe doesn't work that way. Sometimes you give this to this person and you receive from that person
Yeah.
or situation or project. It doesn't matter where you are receiving it, but universe, God, is taking care of us. Therefore, we don't need to worry about, okay, I'm doing this, am I going to get what I deserve for this? If you are doing it and getting so much joy from doing it, don't worry about it. You will be rewarded somehow through that or something else. What matters is, are you taken care of? If yes, if your answer is yes, then does it matter where is it coming from? So that these are so started to happen so much in my life that um, I felt like there's no fear in my life anymore, because I am the one who's creating. I decide every morning, get up and create my life.
Yeah.
And if I can do it, everybody can do it. So that became my ikigai. to teach people to live like I'm living, because I don't feel fear. I create my life, my work, my relationships, and I am living happily. So I want to bring the same thing to my clients and to everyone who come in contact with me. My idea is anyone who comes in touch with me, wherever, at the grocery store, at restaurant, as my client, as my loved ones. My idea is whenever I come together with someone, they need to leave that conversation, that interaction, feeling a little bit better than when we met. So that gives me joy, and that gives me a purpose in life.
Yeah, it's a wonderful ethos, and you should add even on a podcast because I already am feeling calmer. And it actually reminds me of there's a very famous golfer called Bobby Jones who said that the game of golf is played in on the 6 square inches between your ears, right? And he's basically saying you got to quiet the mind because that is you are your own worst enemy, right? Because golf is like a solo sport. You're competing with yourself, really, not with anybody else. And solopreneurship also is very much like that, right? You and it's so true. We are our own worst enemy. It's our thoughts and our mind that often create the doubts and that creep in, or we things like that. So I completely agree with you. In fact, I need to start back my meditation again. You reminded me of that and inspired
And
me to do that.
I tell my clients, most of the times, if you knew that what you need will show up in your
Yeah.
life, how would your life be? How would you live? Oh, very free, so much happier, so much uh, lighter. Well, you can right now. Just choose to live that way and know that I am taking care of. Everything is working out for me. Everything is happening for me. Um, every human being I come across is helping me get better. So it's that simple. It's that easy. And sometimes I also ask my clients, like, so what are the things that you're afraid of? This. Okay. Um, imagine you had amnesia. You forget everything, as if you were born right now.
Yeah.
What would, like, how would it look like if you didn't have any of those worries and fears you had? Oh, I would be so relieved. I would be so happy. It's a choice. Choose to um choose to reclaim that power as a human being. We have that power to create, to like every morning. Like, let me give you an example, because some people might say, what does it mean you create? Well, every morning we wake up and we start to create our day. We have choices. For example, you make coffee. uh, Coffee, you smell the coffee. Oh, it's so beautiful. How wonderful this coffee smell. You can say that. Or say, ah, this coffee is like, I'm making it every day. What my wife or my husband never prepares one. It's always me to do that. You see, like, you can choose. You
Yeah.
are creating. Like, you are creating your loved ones. You are creating yourself. I am, like, every morning I say, universe, what gifts do you have for me today? And I say, everything is always working out for me. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better and better. And I say this with, like, yelling,
Yeah.
because that is, I am creating my day. I'm starting my day on a high note.
Right.
So that sets up my day. And I go from that energy. So, or I can say, oh, what a day. It's raining outside. Ooh, it's cold. Look at this. We are in May and look at the weather still. I can say that. Or I can say, oh my God, what a beautiful rain. It's like feeding all the plants, and it's tapping on my window. Like, you see, we are creating. That's how we are creating.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And the funny thing is, we were like that, right? If you go back to being children, that is exactly how children are. They wake up every day with wonder and curiosity, and everything is fun and new and exciting and, like you said, beautiful. And then I think we start layering this stuff on, right? As we get older. And it's like we put on these masks, we were talking about earlier in the corporate world. And I think we're almost taught to put on so much armor that what you're talking about is starting to learn how to shed it again, which I love. Right. And you're right. Everything is about perspective. The same two people can look at the same, out your window and have two completely different points of view on beauty or lousy. Right. So no, I totally agree with you. And I think that's a very valuable lesson. And especially, again, I go back to as a solopreneur, right? Because you really have to, and you have the ability to create your day. Nobody else is planning it for you. Like you said, you can. Yeah.
But there's one important thing, Nikhil.
Yeah.
There's a big responsibility that comes with it, because nobody's asking you, okay, today you're going to do this, this, and that. You are the one who decided. So discipline, creating a discipline, work discipline, is might become a problem for some people. And if that's the case, it is important to nip that in the bud, so that because otherwise you might sabotage yourself and your work. Um, so when because sometimes there are so many things happening in your work day. Sometimes there aren't too many things. Then when that happens, I learned. At first I was like, oh my god, I don't have much to do today, what am I going to do now? uh, for example, I like to learn things. Okay, this is a quieter phase, and given the circumstances, how can I what can I do in this quieter time? I can learn something. I can maybe take a course that I wanted to get, a training, something that I had already in mind, or have lined up for the like quieter times. Like always doing something toward like learning and growing into my formation, my career, my practice, whatever I am providing to my clients. So that is important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right. Because we don't have any boundaries. We don't have any, and there's no boss, there's no timeline. You're not checking in and out. You don't have hours in the day. So you have to, and you can get accountability partners, right? That's one of the things I think that's really important is in this, find your tribe, I always say. And we can hold each other accountable if that's something you struggle with in terms of self-discipline. But also, I think you learn that along the way, right? Like one of the things I realized earlier this year is that I'm working, 7 days a week, but I needed to realize I needed to focus on activities that move my business forward. There's other stuff that needs to be done, but I need to start taking that off my plate, right? So you start learning to balance those things and get more focused. But yeah, you're right. That is very important.
So one thing you said
Yeah.
reminded me something. There is one caveat though. When you are a solopreneur and if you really love what you're doing, there's a danger of working 7 days a week. That's the truth, and I am too. I work 7 days, not necessarily all day 7 days, but a few hours every day for sure. And there comes the support, like loved ones, because for example, in my case, my husband is so supportive and he understands that I am doing things that really give me joy, and I am happier because of that. Therefore I am happier with him too. So it impacts our life and our relationship in a positive way, but it might not have been that way. Like if he wasn't that supportive or that understanding, there might have been a problem. So it is like people who live with entrepreneurs and supporting them is it's really very precious and valuable thing. So I want to like commend people who live with an entrepreneur because they really like to work quite a lot.
Yeah, and especially solopreneurs, I think, right? Because you're right. Yes, I appreciate that too. But again, and you have to find the balance, right? Because you can't just neglect family and say, because I'm building my business. So I do it in sort of bursts, and then I call them like forced time off. Like I had nieces in town, and I just took afternoons off during the weekday. I just moved all my meetings and said, you know what, these afternoons are going to be spent hanging out in the city with my niece. So yeah, you got to find that balance. True. So you described your coaching brand as calm, grounded, and non-performative, right? But you're operating in a very crowded space in terms of transformation, personal development coaching. How do you make sure your quiet power stands out to prospective clients?
Well, I believe that this success and happiness at work um, starts with who you are being, how you are showing up as a human being. Um, there's this coach, Steve Chandler, and they ask him. He's called the people call him the godfather of coaches, and he recently retired. But um, when they asked him, "So, what kind of coach are you?" And he said, "I'm a life coach." And when they said, "Well, people like niche out, like niching is good for coaching. Why do you call yourself like life coach?" He said, "Well, I work with CEOs, I work with anyone and everyone. Why? Because they all have a life. Every human being has a life, and I'm a life coach." But um, that means that brings to me what brings is every human being is first a human being,
Yeah.
and then an entrepreneur, a professional, a CEO, a teacher, whoever they are. So I take a client and work on creating themselves. And I see every human being like an iceberg, okay? And each human being has a infinite potential. What we show to the world is just the tip of the iceberg, but not only to the world, to ourselves too. So I help people to realize that how much more potential they have, how much more they can give and share with the world, and but first to themselves, and then so that they realize and reclaim that power and start sharing it with the world. So it doesn't matter who they are, what they do, what is their position or status in society. Um, the idea is wanting to bring that potential out to the world, like moving that iceberg outside the
Further up.
water as much
Yeah.
as possible.
So, are your clients typically feeling like a yearning? Because I mean, and it's something I get asked a lot. Also, is like you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? So, if somebody's not ready to open up or go on that journey, it's very hard to convince them, right? So, is that what you find, that they typically sort of have a hole, almost like when they come to you or look for you?
Yes, that is a very important thing because whoever wants to work with a coach, any coach, not with me, but anyone, they need to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's a waste of their time, their money, and the coach's time too. So it needs to be really a hell yes to work with a coach. And the ones that get the most out of our work together, are the ones who come themselves and say, "Hey, I have been watching you. I have been following you, and I want to work with you. Anyone who came themselves and said that got out of the work we do 500%.
Yeah.
And I had many others who came because their wife wanted them to work with me, or because their mother wanted them to work with me, or they came but are not really ready for it. We didn't get much. And that's not good for me. That's not good for them. So whenever I realize that, because I give some time to get to understand each other and see is it going well or not. And whenever I see that it's not a good match, I tell them. This is not going anywhere, and I think you're not ready.
Yeah.
And sometimes some people say, yeah, I think you're right. And we we like take a break, and we don't like cut ties, but we say, hey, let's give it some time, and whenever you feel ready, let's try again. So that's how we do, because yes, you cannot make anybody do anything.
No.
um, they need to want themselves and
Yeah.
ready for it.
Yeah, and they have to be open to it. And I completely agree, because this is a journey, this which is really a lot about self-discovery, right? Even my process that I do, the brand boost process, 9 weeks, 5 sessions, and you really sort of go deep into the person's story. And I too am like, if people want something different, I say, well, then this is not for you at this time, right? Maybe later down the road you can't. And I see it as planting seeds, right? It's not so much as trying to pull people in, it's letting them know you're there, and when they're ready they'll find you. So I think that's really important. So
Absolutely.
you've built a brand around transformation and resilience, right? So how much of your own journey do you actually weave into your marketing and communications?
Well, I am very transparent, and what you see is what you get. I share a lot, maybe a little bit too much, but feel like anyone and everyone who's following me is a part of my family, really. And I just love to be out there and share my life, my world, my thoughts, the wisdom, the things that make me excited, or things that I learn, because that's all about that. What is making me feel good, I want to share, so that others maybe feel good too. And I like to share anything and everything, because life has ups and downs. We are not always la la la, like in La La Land. Uh, Good things happen, harder things happen, and it's life. And we, none of us is immune. So I do live sessions on Inside Timer, for example. There have been many sessions where I cried my eyes out on a live session. And but what happens is, because I can be myself, I get so much support
Yeah.
from the people who join my sessions. And they say, hey, when I apologize or say something, they say, don't apologize. You are a human being, and we appreciate you just being authentic and sharing your thoughts, your emotions with us. So resilience, resilience. We create resilience through our experiences and the things that we learn. And I had so many experiences throughout my life, like moving from one country to another, um, going through a divorce in a country that I don't know anyone, anything, being uh, like a single mother, and then getting married again, bringing two families together, um, losing my job like that, changing careers, like so many things that were really life-changing. But looking back, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened for me. I'm proud of myself, and I feel younger and stronger than ever. And I love this life.
Yeah, I know, and I think there's such a need for what you just talked about too. Right? I mean, that's why it's unfiltered solopreneur, because I felt the same. There's so much cosmetic, curated stuff out there that people put out. It's like people today only show you the part that they want you to see, right? And that's not the real or the whole person, I should say, right? It's just one sliver of how they want to be perceived. And that's just not how people are, like you said. And I think I feel like, and maybe I'm just wishful thinking, is I feel like people are pushing back and they want more real and they want more authentic, is not curated, right? Authentic is what you just described, which is being yourself in even when you're on a live stream. So I think that,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people want that, and like rightly so, um, because we want authenticity. We want to support each other. Like
yeah,
it doesn't need to be, oh, this person is better and that person is not good. Like uh, like what is the saying? I preach, I do what I preach, or something like that. Um,
practice
I'm
what I
doing
preach,
that.
right?
Yes, yes. Like Byron Katie. What the other people think or say about me, none of my business. I do what feels right and what feels good to me, uh, because I know that whenever I share something from the heart, I get so much response, positive response, and people appreciate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think authenticity is one of the important values that people are more and more wanting to see in the world.
Yeah, but in an unvarnished way, right? Because I think people have been talking about authenticity, at least in marketing, for like 2 decades, and it's not authentic, right? So that's what I think people are starting to cordon on to. So you just mentioned a few times now that you learned how to not to take things personally, right? And Katie Byron talked about that too. So could you tell me though, what part of your solopreneur journey or life has really tested that the most?
Well, especially at the beginning of your practice, you are like, it's like a trial and error, and you join in some projects, and thinking that like good things gonna happen, it's gonna grow, and many times I went through some disappointments. At first it was really difficult to go through them, because like at the end of the day, you need to pay your bills, you need to bring some income, and you're hoping that these projects will bring something, just to find out that no, not so much. So there has been some projects I joined in, and with big hope, uh, turned out to be nothing substantial. So I realized to pick and choose what is working for me, because yes, it's great to do things that give me joy, but when there are too many things that give you joy, that's another problem. So you need to pick and choose what is giving me joy, but also bringing me some income, or like um, some proof that what I'm doing is creating and bringing something. So I learned to focus on one, two, or three at the most things that are working for me. Okay, I am seeing the signs that this is going well and there's potential to grow. So I learned to focus on those, while giving some time to some projects and see if it's working or not. For example, I did a project for a year, and we tried everything. It didn't work, and we decided that, okay, we did everything we could so
Yeah.
far, and it didn't work. Then let's not spend more time and effort on this. Let's give it a go, and so that we can each of us can focus on things that work. So at first it's hard to accept that, but in time, I think the more you learn to be a solopreneur, the more you understand the ins and outs of of this solopreneurship.
Yeah, true. And I think, you're right. We don't talk about it enough, but, we talk about it takes courage to take the leap. Yes. But it also takes courage to walk away from something that you realize is not working. Right. And I don't think we talk about that at all, because it gets deemed in the failure bucket, and that's like bad, but it's not failure. It's learning. And, flogging a dead horse is not a good thing. When you realize you're wasting time and energy, even if it's your baby and you've spent a year on it, like you said, at some point you realize this is not worth, expending any more energy on. And I think that takes a lot of courage to sort of admit that and walk away. And like you said, obviously you will lick your wounds a little bit, but you will be better off for it in the long run. So I think that's really important. It's a great lesson.
And you're speaking as if you read my latest newsletter, because I exactly wrote about that, something that I chose to quit. Even though I spent so much time, I went through the certification process, I spent money, and it was going really well too. I was bringing so many clients and having them go through those processes. But because I realized, because of some changes happened, and after those changes things were not aligned with my values, I chose to quit. I chose
Right.
to leave, and
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
It's
I think that takes an equal amount of courage, right? In fact, maybe more, because society, and, we've sort of put this baggage on walking away from something as giving up, which is not, it's not true. So, yeah. And I completely agree. So, I mean, talking about that, actually, it's interesting that, one of the things most solopreneurs struggle with is self doubt, right? So you talked about your medication sort of erasing fear, but has that also helped you overcome the internal sort of voices that sometimes hold us back, or on sort of talking in our head when we and help making us doubt something that we're trying to do?
well, I throughout my meditation journey, I learned to hear my intuition really well. So yes, self doubt happens, especially when you are new at something, when you are still learning, especially if it's the first time you are doing something. For example, the first workshop I did, the first live session on Insight Timer I created, the first client I worked with, I made many mistakes. And I learned that the first of everything is not easy. But without going through that first, you cannot get to the second or third or fourth, and that's a learning curve. There will be mistakes, there will be things that don't go the way we want it to go, but we need to get through that to get to the level where we are becoming more comfortable. Like this is, I don't know, I feel so relaxed here, because this is my, maybe, I don't know, 40th podcast. I was like shaking on my first, on my second too, or most probably on my third too. But in time, when we give ourselves time and a chance to learn and like experience things, we get better. This is not a coincidence that they say you need to have 10,000 hours in anything you want to become a master, because mastery comes from experience. So self doubt used to be something that I experienced in the past, not anymore, because I am very well versed around what I can do, what is my capacity, and I don't doubt. By the way, if and when I feel like I'm doubting myself, I'm gonna doubt myself. I actually push myself to really make a promise. Like, let me give you an example. Let's say there is a topic that I want to create a workshop, and it is maybe a little bit intimidating to me. What I do, I announce it. I announce that I am going to do this at this time, and I give a deadline so that people know about it. Now I have to deliver.
Yeah.
So I push myself. I announce it, I say it, and then I start working on it so that I can't have a chance to say, okay, I quit. I'm not going to do it because people are waiting for it now. So that's something like I call it reverse engineering your goals. So I, I use that a lot.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that, and I agree with you. And I don't think we can ever really get rid of self doubt, right? Because, but the way I think about it is, I do it anyway. Like you said, I put it out there. Like the podcast has scared the hell out of me. I'm an introvert, and this is not my comfort zone. But now with my 40-second conversation, I'm so much more comfortable than if you went back, like you said, in my first three. I was nervous as hell, which people may not know, but I absolutely was. So, and I agree with you, and I think that the key is, don't let it stop you, right? Everyone's going to have it. And like you said, every time you do something new, you will experience that self-doubt or imposter syndrome, as they call it. So I love that.
And there's one more thing, Nikhil.
Yeah.
You can never make everybody happy.
No.
No matter what you do, you can have your best performance. There will always be people who will say, this wasn't great. But sometimes you don't have it's not even good. Some people will love it.
Yeah. True.
For the same exact meditation, I receive feedback. One says, this didn't do anything for me. I didn't like it. Another person says, oh my God, this is the best meditation ever. It is the same meditation. So if that's the case, if we will never make everybody happy, but we will make some people happy, then I'm working for those people. I'm
Yeah.
doing it for those who will appreciate and who needed it and who receive it. So I do something for only one person. Even if one person will get something, like from this conversation you and I are having, like when someone listens to this and gets something out of it, then it's done. We had like our goal is accomplished. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. And I completely agree with you. And we set these unrealistic expectations, right? But imagine just every day, if you, even every month, you touch one person, that's huge in terms of, the impact that you have. And like you said, you sort of, and you put it out there in the universe. So I love that. So go ahead. Yeah.
One more
Yeah.
thing, sorry,
Yeah.
that brought to my mind the first training I created, and I put it out there, like promoted it. Quite a few people signed up, but only one person showed up, Nikhil. One person. And at first, I was so disappointed. Even like people who signed up didn't show up. It's free. I'm doing it for free. But then I realized, oh, because this was what meant to happen. Because this person needed me so much that the universe made that happen. And we ended up doing this one on one. So I tailored, or arranged it around her needs, and she got so much out of it. So so this is a fact, right? When we look at things, a fact is happening. There's a training happening and one person shows up. This is fact. I can look at it and say, oh my God, what a fiasco. I only had one person show up. On the other hand, I can choose to say, oh wow, how lucky we are, two of us. I had the opportunity to help her, and she had the opportunity to have this as a one-on-one with me.
Yeah.
So it's all a choice. It's so we are creating. That's how what I mean by we are saying we are creating everything.
Yeah, and I love that, and I hope if people walk away with nothing else, they remember that message, right? Because it's so, I think, such an important one, and applies to everything in life, right? Relationships, love, everything, kids, family, work. Yeah, no, I completely agree. So, if we were to meet again 5 years from now, Ipek, what would you want to achieve? Where would you want to be?
I think I would want to be same place as I am. I'm very content. Um, Material things don't matter much to me. What matters is experiences. I love traveling. If we meet 5 years from now and I saw 10, 20 more countries around the world, I will be very happy. But otherwise, as long as I'm healthy, I'm happy and content. And so I think this life is good, and I will keep doing what I do.
Well, I hope we connect many times more before that. But so, if you could offer one piece of advice to somebody who wants to start their solopreneur journey, what would you tell them?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, just go for what gives you joy, for sure, and don't self self doubt. You asked really good questions. Please do not try not to self doubt, and know that you can do anything. And one other thing that I learned, if you want to create something in your life and you do something about it every single day, even if very small, but every single day doing something toward your goal will take you there. Even if you don't want to get there, you will get there.
Right.
So please be consistent and commit and do something every single day, and you will get there.
Yeah, that's great advice. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners that we haven't covered?
Um, uh, Well, I love working with people and I love teaching meditation. I would just love them to find me if they like meditation or if they want to learn to meditate. And I'm just here for anyone and everyone who would like to learn and grow and bring their potential out to the world.
Yeah, one soul at a time, right? So that brings us to our rapid fire rounds. I'm just going to throw some questions at you and tell us what comes to mind. What's your favorite card in your affirmation deck and why?
Well, as I said, everything is always working out for me is one that I say every day, every single day. And I love it because it is like, it's like a brainwashing that whatever happens, it will be fine. Everything is going according to plan that the universe have for me. So that's the one I would say. Everything is always working out for me. But I have a 7.5 minute I am declaration, which is available on YouTube, and I I have so many affirmations there that I say every day to myself, and I listen to it. So there's that. I would highly recommend anyone who's interested to just check it out on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, and like you said, it does change your brain chemistry, right? It does work. So if you had any superpower to amplify your impact as a coach, what would it be and why?
Well, superpower as a coach, like if it wasn't as a coach, I would say something, but this is as a coach you're asking. I think I would love to be able to show, like a movie, uh, the potential and power each human being has within them. Like just like a movie, they can watch what is possible for them.
To show them the lower parts of the iceberg, right? That's there, but they aren't seeing. I love that. If you could instantly download a skill into your brain, like Matrix style, what would it be?
I think I would like to be able to speak many languages, but you can do it using AI and some apps right now. Uh, but I would love to be able to speak different languages and understand. I love languages, and I'm very interested in so many kinds of languages. So that would be very interesting to me.
That would be very cool to have that. You could probably actually, with an implant now, it might even be possible. If your inner voice had a job title, what would it be?
My inner voice had a job title. Mm, that would be my my assistant, executive assistant.
That's a mighty job. Um, what's one thing you do every day to cultivate your positive mindset?
Well, as I said, I start my day with those affirmations and meditation, of course, because I so believe in setting the like starting your day with a high note, and that impacts the whole day. So yeah, that's the thing. Every morning, I open up my arms and literally yell if nobody's sleeping in the house. Uh, Yell those affirmations, and they make me feel really energized and get ready for my workday.
I love it. It's a great way to end the show. And I have to tell you, I already feel the calming effect having spoken to you, Ipek. So thank you so much for sharing your journey and all the wisdom that you brought. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Nikhil. It has been a pleasure and honor to be with you. Thank you.
Ipek's journey from corporate perfectionist to fearless entrepreneur holds some profound lessons that I can't stop thinking about. Here are my key takeaways. Your job title isn't your identity. Losing it can set you free. Ipek spent 2 decades being the excellent executive when that was stripped away, she felt like she was nothing. But that emptiness was actually space being created for who she really was. As solopreneurs, we get to define ourselves by our values and not someone else's org. That's a privilege many people never get. Joy as a strategy, not just feeling. When Ipek promised herself at 50 that joy would be her North Star, she wasn't just choosing happiness. She was choosing a business model. She literally said no to anything that drained her of joy, and yes to everything that filled her up. Stop treating joy like a luxury you'll pursue later. Actually your competitive advantage right now. Authenticity beats curation every time. Think about it. In a world where everyone's curating their highlight, Ipek's willingness to cry on a live meditation isn't just vulnerable. It's magnetic. Clients don't want a perfect guru. They want someone who gets it, who's walked in the mess and can sit with them in theirs. Your mess is your message. The very struggles you're tempted to hide might be exactly what your ideal clients need to see and hear. Soft skills are not a nice from empathy to active listening. Ipek has seen how the human side builds trust faster than any tactic or fancy CRM platform. You can automate processes, but you cannot automate connection. People remember how you make them long after they've forgotten your pitch. What strikes me is how Ipek made joy her business strategy. On her 50th birthday, she promised anything bringing joy was in, anything taking it away was out. She stopped measuring herself by others' and started creating from her own internal compass. The difference between building a job and building a life. Thanks for listening to Unfiltered Solopreneur. If you got value from today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another solopreneur who needs this message. Until next time, keep breaking free from the corporate grind, and remember, your story is your most powerful asset. Live solo or die corporate.